What's up, YouTube Nation? DIY 1978 guy here with another DIY project. This one's just going to be a short though. What we got today is actually, and I'll show you a sec, it's a Craftsman riding mower that I've worked on a couple of times. It's actually a neighbor of mine's. I've done a few things on it, but the reason I wanted to do this short video, I didn't have time to film the entire troubleshooting process and everything, but the reason I wanted to do this short video is because of the nature of the problem that I found with it. Okay, this is not something that I find is a very common problem in all the years that I've been working on small engines. I haven't found this to be the case, but it's not impossible and it does happen. So I wanted to show you this. So we'll try to keep this video short and run through what I've got here. So this particular lawn mower, here, let me turn this around and show you what it is. And I apologize if my dog gets in the shot. He wants to be part of this as well. Everybody wants to be part of YouTube. Watch out, puppy. So this is actually a Craftsman riding mower. It's an R1000, so it's the pirate version apparently, or it's the comparable model to like the Polaris Razor 1000 side by side. Not really, this is not a turbocharged engine. But anyway, I've already got it taken apart. And the complaint that we had with this thing is that initially it just wouldn't run right? It wouldn't stay started. They had to keep it choked. I went through, cleaned the carburetor out and everything like that, and got it running, and everything was doing great. The customer got it back, went try to use it about a week later, and the thing wouldn't start. Okay, it just wouldn't start, wouldn't fire off, or it would pop off for like a half a second, and then that was it. So he brought it back to me, and I went through it the other night thinking, well, the gas was kind of nasty in it, but you know, you can run on gas that's a little bit old, that has a smell to it, so long as you dilute it with, you know, some fresh gas, which is what they did. Now, I was thinking perhaps maybe the fuel filter had gotten plugged up on it or something like that. Wasn't the case. Took the fuel filter apart. This particular fuel filter is just one that has a screen in it. It's not one that has a paper element or anything like that. And so I'm like, well, you know, on the off chance that maybe something was caught in the tank and got down through it, some sediment, whatever that I didn't know about, got down in there. On the off chance, I went ahead and took the carburetor all apart and cleaned it out. Not to my surprise, it wasn't dirty. There wasn't much of any sediment in there. Went through, cleaned the jets again, did all the normal stuff, and probably in another video sometime later on, because I get plenty of these to work on, I'll do an actual tear down and clean out of a carburetor and show you what it's like. I mean, like I said, you can't find but maybe I think 2 or 3 million videos on YouTube about cleaning carburetors, but as I stated, every video has its own little perfect detail that ties it together. Anyway, on this one, I put it all back together, went to fire it up, things still wouldn't start. Okay, it's like if I bottle fed it, it would, but if I was trying to use gas from the fuel tank, it wouldn't work. Pull the lines off, clearly not a whole lot of fuel coming out of there. So I took my air nozzle and started blowing it back up through the line into the tank, thinking maybe some sediment got in the actual drain portion of the tank. And at first, nothing was coming out. There was no air bubbles, no nothing was coming up in the tank. But then finally it broke free. Air bubbles started coming out into the tank. I said, yay, we got it. Put it back together, went to start it up, still wouldn't run. So, well, we got talking dogs back there. Anyway, I get distracted very easily, but still no fuel was coming out of the line. So the next probable cause is going to be something in the fuel line. And again, this is not a very common problem that I've run into, but I'm going to go ahead and show you what exactly I found. And again, it was kind of a surprise, I think, to me a little bit, but I'll see if I'll be able to show you. Now, you won't be able to see it right here directly, but this is the fuel line that was actually, let me see if I can tilt this up a little bit. This was the fuel line that was actually connected to the bottom of the tank, right? The tank nipple went right into here. The fuel would flow through, so this was the direction of the flow going down towards the carburetor. Of course, the fuel filter was here, then there was the extended piece of the fuel line going to the carburetor. When I was blowing back through this, right, at first there was nothing, but then bubbles started coming up, and then I let it try to flow back through, and I got like drips. That's it, and drips are not enough to keep a carburetor full while the engine is running. Just for the sake of showing you, this is not pickle juice in here. This is actually the fuel that came out of that tank. Again, you can run on this stuff so long as you dilute it. It does have a bit of a stink. The thing sat up for a while, but you're not gonna be able to see it here. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut the line and I'll show you. But down inside the line, when I put a flashlight down in there, you can actually see where the interior wall of this braided rubber hose had actually started to deteriorate and collapsed on itself. So essentially what it was doing was causing a unintended check valve inside the hose. Now, in automotive and many other industries that use rubber lines like this, when you're running chemicals, oils, things like that through these lines, if they're not the proper lines or they're just old, it's not uncommon to see it. Probably the most common experience I've seen in this is in old vehicles on brake lines, right? The rubber brake lines that go usually between a fitting and the caliper on the front wheels, you know, flexible so the wheels can turn. Those things will deteriorate over time, and it was a lot bigger of a problem on older cars. It's not as big of a problem these days, but it still happens. Those things would actually deteriorate on the inside and actually cause the same effect. You would step on the brake, the caliper would lock down, and then when you let off the brake, which is supposed to release the fluid pressure on the caliper, that collapsed portion of the line would actually act like a check valve and keep the caliper locked, causing either the wheel to not turn or your brakes to drag and overheat and stuff like that. So again, not a completely uncommon issue, but something I've not seen in small engine repair, at least in several years. So what I'm gonna do is actually cut this piece off right here, and we'll see if we can see this check valve piece in here. Rip that off. Yep, there it is. So I don't know if you can see that. I'm looking at a screen that's like this big on the camera. But anyway, right inside there is the collapsed rubber piece right there, which was blocking the line. And so you can see it's basically like sediment got in there, but this is actually pieces of rubber that had torn off the inside of the braided rubber hose and clogged the line up. So there it is. That was the reason why this thing was not working altogether. Now, when I originally fixed it, this apparently was not a problem because, like I said, it started up, it ran perfect. I mean, we drove it around, they drove it around the driveway. Heck, my neighbor came over, picked it up, and drove it back to his house. Kind of looked like, who was that? Not Happy Gilmore. It looked like Bobby Boucher from Waterboy, you know, driving his tractor down the road. But anyway, I mean, it worked just fine. And I drove it around the driveway a number of times and everything, no issues. So apparently this was something that took place sometime between when they got it back and when he went to use it sometime later. Just goes to show you, you know, sometimes when you're doing DIY stuff, you can go through all of the normal checklist items. You can check everything that you know to check, things that are common problems. And coincidentally, you can fix things that were a problem, which in that case, clean out the carburetor was the problem. But when you have the problem again, it's not necessarily the same thing. In this case, it happened to be a very, very big one-off. And I wonder if I can actually dig some of that. There it is, right? Dig some of that nasty rubber out of there. I mean, this is like, ew. It's almost like what we refer to in the car stereo world. It's a little insulation type stuff. We call it gorilla snot, right? That's almost like what this is. So I don't know if something got put in there or what the deal is, or if that's just pieces of the sidewall of the hose. Either way, I replaced the fuel line on it, and I'm gonna go ahead and start it up, test it, put it back together, and I'm actually gonna use it to do some lawn cutting here just to make sure everything's good again before I give it back to the customer one more time. But anyway, want to do this short video again just to show you sometimes in DIY it's not always what it seems to be. It's not always the common things. Every now and again you run across something that may not be what you expect it to be. But as I've stated before, if you take your time, you do some research, you follow the science. I know that's a weird term to use these days, but anyway, on engines, air, fuel, and spark is what makes them go. 9 out of 10 times you got air coming in, you check the spark, make sure it's good, which I did. fuel is going to be the next most common thing. So follow the path of the fuel and you'll find your issue. So thanks again for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe. I really appreciate everybody out there. God bless you all. And there should be some more videos dumping here pretty soon with more DIY projects. Love you guys. Take care. Thank you very much. Peace out.